Given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Supernatural, metaphysical, paranormal. You know, all those things you've been wondering about? Are you ready to go deeper into the realms of the unknown? I hope you've got your walking shoes on, because life is an adventure, and this is the journey. Come on, let's go. Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. This is the Journey Radio Show, and here are the She Squatchers. I'm Jen Cruz, your host, and I've got Tammy Trico with me.
Hello, everybody.
Jenna couldn't join us tonight. She's got other things going on, so sending her big loves and shout outs to Jenna.
Love you,
And
Jenna.
she wished she could be here for you, Zach, but she just couldn't make it happen. So anyway, we've got a really special guest with us tonight. With us. He's everywhere, I guess. We've got Zach Malmquist with us from Minnesota. Hey, Zach, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Kind of unfortunate we couldn't figure that out. I'm a computer programmer and I couldn't get the audio to work today. So
That's why we start a little early, just to make sure it's all working correctly. So
honestly, yeah. I had tested it earlier today, but I hadn't tried it on Skype. So that was my miss there.
There you go. There you go. Well, could you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your background in connection with cryptids and Bigfoot?
Yeah, absolutely. First, thank you. Thank you for having me on here. And thank you for letting me talk about this community I'm part of up here in northern Minnesota. So we have this group. It's called the Itasca County Bigfoot Research Center. Started it a few years ago with a couple friends, and it kind of grew into kind of the thing of its own. We have about 1,500 members there. I think we're about 10 members shy as of today of that number, and about 90% of them, I figure, give or take, is all people that are local to northern Minnesota, or some people live in the cities and they come up here a lot. And through that, we've kind of created this network of researchers up here, people that are all kind of interested in looking into this, and everybody shares in their own different ways. Some people are actively out there looking, weekly, and some people are just, they happen by our group and they have a story they want to share. So, yeah, that's kind of it all in a gist. I first I had an encounter when I was 15, up here in northern Minnesota, up in Balsam Township, where I grew up. I had seen many bears in my lifetime before this encounter, so I had plenty of encounters with black bears. I've had to deal with mothers with cubs and bears coming in wanting your bacon and all that fun stuff. But when I saw this, it was out of the corner of my eye, and it was running on 2 feet, and it took me about 2 seconds to think, no, this isn't a bear, this is something else. And I ran. That was my response to that, was to run away. And then I just kind of put that in the back of my head, and kind of joked about it until I found myself in a Bigfoot museum over in California about 15 years ago. Told my story to the guy there, and he took it serious. And I thought, wow, there's something more to this. So yeah, that's kind of where my interest has been. I love going out in the woods. I love spooky things. Yeah, it's just kind of a really, really fascinating hobby to get into.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
So tell us about your encounter.
You mean my encounter when I was 15?
Yeah, we want to hear about it.
Oh, well, yeah, like I said, it was a really I was okay. More detail. So back behind my parents' place, there's a woods swamp area. I was walking down the road, and just out of the corner of my eye, I saw what I referred to as the color of a dying balsam tree, kind of like a reddish brown, and it was running on 2 feet away from me. It was probably about 20 to 30 feet away. And like I said, I looked at her for about 2 seconds, and I knew I didn't want to be there. So I ran back, hid in my house, and waited for my parents to come home. I told them about it. I told a couple friends about it. We kind of played around with the idea. Maybe that was Bigfoot. Maybe I was seeing something else. And then, everything else is history from there. But speaking of that, if we want to kind of jump into the details here, I actually saw a second one here about a month ago. And it's at a place that both you've been, up at Randy's property up in Black Duck.
Oh, you had a sighting there at Randy's?
Yeah.
Tell us more. We want to hear about it.
Yeah. So as you know, I think you've had him on here a couple times. And he's got all sorts of stories. I think he says the current count is up to 33 have been seen on his property in the last 10 years, and I think we got added to that number here. He invited us up. I think it was a Tuesday, and we went up there, and I brought my daughter with. She's my favorite research partner to bring out on the woods with me. She's 17, and she's very curious about all this stuff too. So we got up there, and I told her, it's Randy's got kind of an interesting place. Don't take anything for granted that you see out there. Just kind of observe everything, kind of take it in, and see what you get from it. So we got there, and Russ, which I believe you've had Russ on from Searching for Sasquatch as well.
Yes.
He was up there as well. He had spent the night there prior. They said that they had some weird knocks and bird calls that happened that evening, if I recall correctly. And then during the day, they had wandered the trails, and they said they had come across an area that had really, really foul smell. So we actually walked through that, and it had been 2 or 3 hours after that, and we walked through it, and we had got to witness the smell. It was what I would describe as like dirty BO crossed with like mushrooms, something to that nature was kind of what this smell was. Wasn't very pleasant, to say the least. So then we got back to, he has this area where he's got this big campfire. He's got this deer stand, looks like a tree house back there next to this. And it was probably about 6:30. We just kind of started the fire. We're sitting around the fire, and I go and I look to my right, over past this tree house, and there's a trail down there, and I see this thing that I thought was like a black flash that just kind of, it was massive, and it went extremely fast across the trail. And I didn't know what the heck I saw when I saw this. I kept looking down there. I kept trying to replicate it to see if it was something, like maybe like a trick of light that was going on or something to that nature to try to get this to come back at us. And I could never get there. And then I just kind of didn't think about it anymore and went on to the evening. And then I got in the car to drive home. And my daughter Zoe, she says to me, she said, "Dad, did you notice that black flash on the trail when we first got there?" And I said, "Yeah, I guess I did." And we kind of put it together that, and she got a little bit better picture of it. What we kind of described it as, if you've seen the Predator movies, where the predators, they go and they kind of cloak themselves. It was kind of doing something like that. Like it was kind of that you could see through it, but you could kind of see that there was something there as it moved across the trail. So that's what we saw. We saw something that was what we'd consider the phenomena of like cloaked Sasquatch. So yeah, that was our time up there at Randy's place.
So what part of the property was that on?
Down back by his campfire.
By the campfire. Okay.
Yeah.
On one of the paths, or right out in the open up by the campfire?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Which was it? Was it down one of those paths, or was?
Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, it was down one of the trails. Probably about, I suppose, 50 to 100 yards away from us, where it was.
Okay.
So I asked Randy about that later, and he said that's a common place. That's kind of a pathway where they like to travel through.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm glad you had an experience out there. How do you feel about it?
I'm still kind of processing it. I mean, that's something that isn't something normal. You wouldn't see something, you don't see something like that every day. And quite honestly, if my daughter hadn't brought this up, I probably would have just forgot about it. It just kind of, just one of those things that just, it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder how much of this stuff is hidden in plain sight that is there, and we might see it for a second, but we go on with our daily lives and not think twice about it. So I guess that's where my thoughts have gone with it.
Tammy's chair is very loud today.
Yes, it's an antique chair, so.
He's got that Halloween noises going on.
I promise I'm not farting.
Darn it.
It'd be more funny if it was, though. That's interesting about the cloaking thing, because Jen, that I've had that sighting when I was a child, when I was 4 years old, and it was invisible and it was predator-like, and it jumped down from a tree and ran at me across the street. And so every time I hear somebody saying that and referencing it towards Bigfoot, I'm kind of like, huh, because I don't think that mine was, because whatever came at me when I was 4 years old was aggressive, and it was coming for me. It wanted to get me, and I have never had that feeling from a Bigfoot ever for myself. I know that other people have had experiences like that. So for me, I'm just like, I find it interesting. So can perhaps more than one of these cryptids cloak like that? Is that like a thing that is just from crossing over into our realm that causes that?
Yeah, it's possible. I think personally, I kind of categorize it all as Bigfoot phenomena. I'm not going to say that it's Bigfoot. I think there's a lot of things going on out there, and I think we just kind of try to sum it all up into one creature, which, I don't think the Patty is, running around in our woods. Well, maybe the one Patty is running around in our woods, but there's probably other different types of things out there for sure.
Right. Yeah, I'm wondering if it's just like an interdimensional thing, like coming into our dimension that causes that wave.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Okay. I brought a list. So I got a list of kind of hotspots that we've found as a group. Basically, just various stories and different things that have been presented to us. And we've kind of, from this thing over the last couple of years, we've kind of painted a picture of where different kind of hotspots are in northern Minnesota, at least what our group has provided. So if it works, I could go through a few of these.
I'd love to hear it. Yes.
Okay, great. Gotta move my glasses with my old man eyes here. Okay, so one of our hotspots we've identified is north of Deer River. This is kind of the Sumi Hill area, if you're familiar at all with it. Deer River is 20 miles west of Grand Rapids. And then the Sumi Hill area is kind of the area that runs between Grand Rapids and Big Fork is the best way I'd explain it. So in this area, back in, and forgive me, people listening to this, if I get my dates wrong, my specific details, I kind of took this all from memory. Back in 2023, we were showing a picture of a 20-inch print that was found up in this area. I believe the researchers at the time were suggesting that there was an albino Sasquatch that was out in the midst of that one. In 2021, we had a lady present some pictures of a large handprint that she got on the side of her truck window one evening up in this area. I forget exactly what we came up to determine, but it was a really big hand. It was larger than a normal large hand. And there was also another notable point is that they found tree sap. It seemed like it was sappy how the print was left on the window. We got another report. One of our researchers, he lives or has a cabin north of Lake Winnie. He's had sightings there all of his life. I think he said back in the 80s when he was 5, he recalls sitting in his front area of this cabin and seeing something looking at him, a face looking at him through the window, and that he describes as his first encounter with one. What else we got here? Cottonwood Campground. This is a place that we did recently get research out there in the last month or so. There's been reports out of there since the 80s. People saying they're getting harassed. People having rocks thrown at their tents. We had a story last year of somebody saying that something came and laid next to their tent. It was so unnerving that the family actually got up and they left for the night, and they came back the following morning to pick up their camp. Up there also we found, or we're led to an area where there was some teepees about 2 or 3 miles into the Sumi Hill area. Pretty far out there in the woods for kids to be out there, but we were kind of determining that to be kind of either way. Could be kids, it could be something else. Kind of leave the door open on that. And then beyond that, we've had night hikes out there. This year, last year, we've done wood knocks out there, and we've gotten responses back. So we're definitely curious about this area. It's been kind of a neat place for the whole community to research. Reamer is another area. We have the Bigfoot days up here, and I think it's been considered the Reamer Bigfoot capital of the world. I guess we could probably debate that a little bit. Some of the sightings we've heard from there. Back in 2015, a lady was coming home about 3 a.m. in the morning. She worked at the bar. She came from Reamer. She lives in Hill City. She said about halfway through her drive going home, she had a bright orange Sasquatch cross the trail. And I asked her about this. I said, do you mean just like an orangish one, like a natural orange? She said, no, it was like a bright orange. So I found that kind of an interesting story here. We've had, back in 22, we were showing pictures of tracks near the Schoolcraft State Park, which is in that area. And then, of course, there's the BFRO sightings that they've had over on 6 Mile Lake Road. They found a big trackway of tracks back in 2006. I know it was I wasn't around at that time, but I know a few people that actually went out there and they picked up some casts of that. And then actually last year, 2023, there was a daytime sighting down that trail that was reported by the BFRO. Which, interesting enough, the following night we had a night hike about 10 miles northeast of that area, and that's when we had wood knock reports. So maybe the same thing going on there. What else can I tell you here? Other than Bigfoot, we also get other sightings. People like to talk about Dogman up here. A couple of years ago, south of Aiken, there was a report of a couple of dogmen seen on the side of the road. I think the lady described one as being injured or possibly dead. And then later on that evening, she said that there was a black helicopter with a searchlight over the river in the area. And people, when they talk about dogmen, they always like to relate some sort of like military or government activity going on. Not sure why, but that just seems to be kind of how the reports go. So about halfway down the list. You want me to keep going here? I'm not boring you guys at all.
I love to hear this stuff.
Okay, good to hear. I'll keep going. Balsam Township. This is the area that I grew up in as a kid.
Balsam
Township.
Where is that?
It is about 20 miles north of Grand Rapids.
Okay.
There's a store up there, but that's pretty much it.
Okay.
So Mike Hexum, if you've had him on the show,
yeah.
People call him Pops. He lives up in that area. So
okay.
I'm not going to say specifically where, but he lives up in that area. My daytime sighting back in '95. We were up in King Lake, in the King Lake area, which is up, I suppose, about 10 miles north of the store, for people listening. This was actually a personal story. We were out researching an area. I had gone to pull up my camera. I had sticks thrown over my head. And when it first happened, I looked around and I thought, my friends are out there, they're messing with me. It's got to be the deal. And then nobody came to, say, we're messing with you or anything to that nature. And then I sat there for a few more minutes and it happened a second time. and I got up and left at that point because I felt uncomfortable. We went back to camp. My friends were sitting around the campfire. I had no idea this was going on. We went out there later and we found that what we thought was an impression of a rather large size track. I think about 16 inches. What else here? We had hunters up in the George Washington State Forest area tell us that they've heard wood knocks back there. Back in 2018, we've ran some research out there, checking some things out. An interesting one that I heard that we checked into last year, ATVers were going down a trail up Scenic 7, and they drove past a Bigfoot that was sitting on the side of the trail, and it chased them. It chased them for about a quarter mile down the trail, slapped the side of the ATV, and then ran off into the woods from there. So we went out there with the group that had heard this, and we went to the area where they saw it initially, and we walked back in the woods, and we found a whole bunch of X-shaped tree structures back there. So we found that kind of interesting that there was, we're in this spot, and all of a sudden there's these X structures. I don't know how much you guys put into tree structures or TPs or X structures or Y sticks or all the different things that are out there. I think it's something you just got to kind of weigh the different variables. Is there wind involved here? Is there snow involved here? Is it people doing it? I think there's a lot of different explanations, but it's one of those things you just kind of put, this is possible evidence. Add it to something else. Maybe you got something that looks out to it. Let's see here. So that was Baltic Delta. St. Croix State Park. So this is a little bit outside of our area, but we were interested about it anyways. St. Croix is over on the east part of the state. It's right on the border of Minnesota, Wisconsin, probably about 50 miles south of Duluth. That'd be a good way to explain it. So we had, let's see here. So we had one of our community researchers reach out one day. This was, I think, late February of last year, and say he was out in the St. Croix State Park, and he came across, they have a beach out there. And if you go out to this park, this beach is kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It's like there's the campgrounds aren't near it. It's like 3 miles just going this one direction. It's out there by itself. But that said, it's a pretty nice park. It's a mowed lawn. You've got the swing set for the kids. The barbecue pits, all that fun stuff. But then they got this beachhead out there with a bunch of sand out there. And he said that he'd been seeing footprints out there. And if you understand what Minnesota is like in February, it's kind of cold to be walking around barefoot. So we got word about this, and my daughter and I, we went out there the following week to see what we could find. And sure enough, we found a set of tracks that actually started in the middle of the beach, and they walked across off into the wooded area by it. So we didn't know what we were looking at that time, so we actually took some casts of this, and we brought it home. And I got, for the people who are going to see this on YouTube, so here's one of the casts we have here from that. And we didn't, like I said, we didn't know we were looking at this. This is only 10 inches long in size, so we thought, okay, well, we're not sure what we're doing here. Let's do casts anyways, just to see what we get. And then we brought it home, and we realized a couple things. First, there was a really high arch right here. The large toe is extremely big. It's compared to everything else. And then the width of this is actually 5.2 inches is kind of what it works out to be. And the average human foot is only 4 inches wide. So we looked at it and we figured out that for a 10-inch foot on a foot sizing chart, this is actually a 7 extra wide foot is what this would be. So a person with custom shoes decides to go barefoot across the beach when it's 30 degrees out, during the middle of the day. Sure. it's very possible, but to say the least, we had a lot of fun with this one, trying to figure it out.
Plus, the ground is probably frozen in February
yeah.
at 32
Well,
degrees.
yeah, I mean, it was in the sand on the beach, so it was a little softer there just because the sun would heat it up. But I mean, there was snow everywhere else around, other in the area. So yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't want to be barefoot.
Right. So interesting thing about that area is what else we have here. So the BFRO actually went out there in June, and they led an expedition out there, and they saw a sighting. Had a sighting on a trail at night. They saw the cone head of a Sasquatch out there, and then to kind of go in a different direction, in August, MUFON reported a UAP flying over the park. You familiar with MUFON?
Of course.
Okay.
Mutual UFO Network. Yes.
Yeah. So they have a new branch up here in Grand Rapids. It's northern Minnesota and North Dakota. Oh, excuse me. Is the branch. So this is because I lucked out and I'm only a few miles from this place. I get to go there every month and listen to the different stories. And this is one of the ones we kind of put together. So interesting. It's a very interesting connection between UFOs and Bigfoot. I'll say that. Okay. What else I got here for you? I just got two more locations for you, then I'm kind of done with my list here. So Black Duck. Obviously, we have Sasquatch Central or Minnesota Roars. That Brandy's place, as we all call it. 10 years, over 10 years, 33 plus sightings. If you're familiar with his work, I think it's really interesting. He's got this Facebook group that he's constantly doing things on. One of the things he does is he puts little like sticks and dominoes or dice or whatever on various little boards, and then he leaves them overnight, and then something will move. I'm sure you guys have seen this as well.
Oh, yeah.
And if you see one of them, you're like, oh, whatever, that's just a squirrel. But he's been doing it for like 2 years now, every single day, and every single day it's something new. It's and sometimes they're kind of intricate. Sometimes it's not just, well, this moved over here, but this actually went over top of this or weaved into this, or just strange kind of movement to it. What else we got there? There's also been reports of Dogman up there. I believe one of Randy's neighbors has said that he believes that he's in the middle of a Dogman habitation. And then we have another researcher named Alicia. She lives up in Black Duck up there as well. And she's had some interaction up on her property. She shared a video last year with me where she was outside and she was actually communicating with something via wood knocks for a good 10 minutes or so. I hadn't observed anything like that before. Usually when you do get a connection like that, it's usually kind of one and done kind of scenario versus an actual, seems like they're actually having a conversation back and forth. I found that really interesting. And then finally, but last but not least, we did get one report out of the Red Lake area. Jen, I know you're from there. We were provided a video of I suppose it's like a ring doorbell. Is it kind of one of those cameras? A teenage girl, 15, 16 years old. She was taking her dog out to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and you hear extremely loud wood knocks followed by her rushing in because she was scared the craps about it. So that's a video. That's another video we've had shared on our group page. But yeah, that's the list of things that has been presented by the community to us. It's been kind of an eye opener to start this group up and then see how it flourishes and how people want to interact with you and what they want to share with you. To say the least, I've been truly blessed to be part of this.
All right. With that, we're going to go to our 2-minute commercial break. So stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. All right, so we should be clear for break, but everything is going to be on YouTube. So just so you know.
And we can't edit anything out.
Well, good, good.
So yeah, so let's keep an eye on the clock a little bit. And Serge sends me a message in private chat, so I just start talking when it's time to go back on the air. So yeah. Yeah, we're going to be leaving our network here. I think next week is our last week, and we're going to strictly go to YouTube live and do live shows. So
Cool. Very cool.
That'll be interesting.
that will be interesting.
Have you played around with it at all yet?
I haven't. I need to do that. We'll do like a practice run or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
So
a
everybody else
pre.
who's listening, be ready for go subscribe to our channel and
Yeah, yay.
notifications, because when we go live, you will want to be there, right?
That's right.
You gonna come be there, Zach?
Sure.
Interact with us in the chat. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that'll be fun. So a lot of people have been asking us to be live anyway. So this is just our producer's going to be retiring, so it's just the time to do it, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And plus, you can stream across many different platforms at the same time, so we can be live on all of these different platforms at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah, all of us have had sightings out at Randy's, daytime sightings out at Randy's. It's a great location.
Yeah.
yeah. The one I had was close enough where I could see its face, and its expression probably looked just like mine, which was
Wow. Very cool.
yeah. And then it jumped back and the trees started whipping. And everybody, but other people saw the trees whipping, but I got to see what made it happen, So, but Michael Costi. Oh, welcome back to the show, everyone. This is the Journey Radio Show. And hey, we're the She Squatchers. Won't you check us out online at shesquatchers.com? And there you can find links to all of our goings on there. But our most up-to-date what's going on with us is going to be on it's going to be on Facebook and Instagram. It's She Squatchers Official. You can also follow us on YouTube, She Squatchers Official. Please like and follow us. Subscribe, hit the notifications button, all that fun stuff. And we're going to be...
why should they do that, especially now, Jen?
Well, we're going to be moving over to our show is going to be moving over to like YouTube Live. So in a couple weeks we'll be doing live shows from there. So you'll want to come check us out there and check it out. So that's what we're going to be doing. Anyway, it'll be fun. So hopefully we'll see you all there. So we're back with Zach Malmquist from Minnesota, and he's been sharing all kinds of good information and sightings. We were just talking about Randy's place, and Randy's been on the show quite a few times now with his really active property up by Black Duck in Minnesota. And I was just saying about the sighting that I had. One of them, I've seen multiple Sasquatches there during the day, but the one that I saw that was close enough, I saw his facial features, and it just really felt compelled. We were standing by the tents. We were on one where the paths cross on the far end of the property. We had set up our tents out there, so we were standing by the tents. Michael Quast was standing next to me, and a bunch of us were out there. We were just standing in different groupings, I guess. And I just felt, how you feel that feeling, like somebody's staring at you, and you just feel compelled to look that way, and then you lock eyes with whoever it is. That's exactly what happened. There was a bunch of trees, and beyond the trees there is, we know, a river, right? And then there's just more miles and miles of state land with no roads or anything. But there was a little path that led through the woods there that was just like a nature trail, like a deer trail or whatever, very thin. And I looked directly into the woods down that trail, and I locked eyes with this Bigfoot. It was a black one. It was very dark in color. And I locked eyes with it, and I know the facial expression it had was probably exactly like mine, which was and then it like jumped back, and it jumped back with such force that the trees that were there just started whipping back and forth, back and forth. And Michael saw the trees whipping. He didn't get to see what caused it, but I mean, that doesn't just happen. Right? and then everybody else kind of ran back in the woods. I stayed put and tried to like see when they got to the spot, but even when they got to the spot, I couldn't see them. They just weren't tall enough. So yeah, that was one of my fun sightings out at Randy's place, the dark colored one. And Tammy also saw one that was dark like
The
that.
dark colored one, yeah, right at that same intersection. Only I was standing by the tents, and one of our research partners, Todd, had gone up to get some duct tape, and I thought it was just him walking down because he has dark hair. And I'm like, oh, there's Todd. And then he didn't come out the other side of the tent. And so I got my camera going and I ran around the corner and there's nothing there. And I was like, that was like a 6.5, 7 foot tall Sasquatch, broad daylight, just walking down the trail like it was nothing. I was like, I can't believe I just saw that. I can't believe I didn't get it on tape. But we were just standing there waiting to fix the air mattress. We weren't, filming or anything at the time. That always seems to be when we have the most interactions is when we're not doing anything.
It's expected.
Is that how it goes? And if you could be filming all the time, that would be great. But nobody has enough battery life for that, ever.
Filming 24/7 for an entire week.
Yeah, that. But I mean, all that stuff didn't end up in the film, and I had a sighting of a 10-foot tall, and I only know it was that tall because it was as tall as the black wrap on the poles on the power line corridor. And Randy said that's 10 feet. He's measured it. I'm like, it was as tall as that. But it was a dark brown reddish with a reddish color, like the color of a rotting tree, So when it was just standing there out in the open during the day, very still, I'm like, well, that looks like a Bigfoot, but it's probably just a rotting tree, or Randy would be saying something, And that's kind of where I went with it. And then we walked, we were 4 poles away, which is 1,200 feet. And then we walked 2 poles closer. So now we're 600 feet away from it. And then it disappeared at that point. And so then there was just nothing standing there. There was no dead tree there anymore. So dead tree that looked like Bigfoot. That's what I thought.
So it disappeared.
Disappeared, walked away.
A walking dead tree that looks like Bigfoot.
But it's like that color of that dark red, dark reddish brown color of the rotting tree. You know what I'm talking about, Zach.
Dead pine tree color.
Yeah, yep. I never had described it that way until I don't know if Bill Isham has ever been on here, but he's from that lake area. He's had a couple of sightings himself, but he described it to me that one day, and I said, that's exactly what it sounds, what it was. For sure, interesting color on it. Back to Randy real quick though. I find his philosophy about it all kind of interesting. I know you guys are you're trying to get you get your cameras off for content and all that stuff and whatnot, but he's definitely a believer that it's better just the more low tech you go. Like you don't try to get them on film. And that's what I tell people, if you want to go out and you actually experience this for yourself, go out in the woods and just be out there, be in the nature. Don't try to run around with the camera out and try to catch them, because we've been trying that for 50 plus years now, and it hasn't worked yet. Not really. Get out there, have experience for yourself. See them for yourself.
That's exactly how I feel. And, I like to just go out to Randy's and sit at the fire pit with him at night. I think the latest we'd sat out there one night, him and I, was 4 a.m. It was just him and I sitting there. And, I think Jenna had gone to bed quite a few hours earlier than that. And we were just sitting out there, and I hear better than Randy does. Like, his hearing isn't like as sharp as mine, I think. And so I was hearing like movement behind us, and I'm like, Randy, behind me. Something moving back there. And then he was paying more attention. He's like, oh yeah, I can hear it. And I think they like to sneak up on you when you're at the fire pit to see what's going on.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. When there's not too many people.
Right. That seems to be the majority of the interaction happens there.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, we've seen Randy and I both saw this huge bright light, and it was just a huge bright white light that shot up out of the forest. Like if you're sitting on the couch at the fire pit and you're just looking that direction into that woods, in the middle of that woods that's there, something very bright white light shot up from inside that woods and went straight up into the sky, just gone.
Wow.
And we both saw that. We both saw that. And there's nothing back there that could cause that. There's no roads. There's no people. I mean, there's nothing back there, right, Zach? You've been back
Right,
there.
yeah. It's all state property back there, and it kind of seems like the further back, the weirder it gets. That's
And
what I kind of see.
it was on Randy's side of the river, so
Oh, okay.
it wasn't even far away. It was just like right there. It was very close to where we were, and so that was pretty cool to see.
Now, let me ask your opinion about this. He keeps trying to get me to go out there and spend the night out on the state property, like kind of in that area where he describes seeing the portal. Would you do that?
I mean, how far back does he want you to go?
Well, probably
a
good mile back. Like that's kind of the impression I got there.
Yeah.
I know people they camp around the campfire. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
You're asking if I would do it?
Yeah, would you do it? In your opinion, would you do it?
I mean, I've been over on the state land. I didn't go really far back just because Jenna said it was some hard hiking and she was worried I might. Okay. You've been back there though, right?
Yeah.
Like she was saying, there's like logs and stuff underneath the tall grass, so you're not always sure what you're stepping on. So walking out in the dark might be, just because if I get hurt, I can't work. So that's my concern. If I'm hurt, I can't work.
Okay.
Got to be able to do that. So, I mean, I would definitely sit out there by myself in the dark if I was not having to go through the areas where there's like logs underneath the tall grass. Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
If you went out there during the day when you could see and stayed the night and didn't try to walk back in the dark, I think you'd be okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Very. I think more than just the physical trial of it, the psychological element of being way back there on his, in this area that's so active. That's more of the question I have. I think is it sounds like you two are more comfortable with this than I am.
Well, I'm pretty brave. Not much scares me, so I wouldn't have a problem going back there and camping back there.
Okay.
But would you just sit back there in a tree stand?
Well, I mean, if I knew where I was going to get back, then yeah, I would.
Mm-hmm.
Only problem with me is like it's getting cold out. I wouldn't do it now. I don't like to be cold, so.
Right? Yeah, it is good.
Have you guys met Brian Glenn? Has he been on the show at all?
I don't think so.
I don't think he has been on the show.
Well, he was. I guess he commonly goes out there on his property. He was there when we were there last, and he headed out to a tree stand, and I guess he was out there until I think 2 or 3 in the morning, just kind of by himself. I think my imagination would get the best of me, to be perfectly honest.
So there is a tree stand. So when you go across the river and you go into the state land, there is a tree stand not that far in. I would definitely sit in that tree stand, no problem.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I think that's the one that Brian Glenn was sitting in, because when I've been out there at night too, when he's come out and gone out there and just sat and meandered back when he was ready. So I absolutely would do that. No problem.
Okay.
You should do it. You should do it.
Okay. Yeah, we've been trying to get that connected for a couple of years now, I think, and just getting timing for it. So
Yeah. I feel like the Bigfoots on Randy's property are not aggressive people. And I do feel like Bigfoot is a people. It's not an animal, it's a people. And the reason that I feel that way is, well, there's multiple reasons, but I mean, even if you look at the Sierra Sounds, and Scott Nelson feels that that's a language that they're speaking, and I believe that too. And then the filmmaker that we work with, Jason Kenzie, when we were filming in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, he was hung his hammock from a very large X in the forest, and he was gonna sleep there, and something approached him, and he got an audio recording of it, and at first it like huffed and growled at him, and then it said something which he didn't understand. Well, when we make these films, we don't actually get to see all the footage and until it's all put together and it's up on Tubi, just like everybody else gets to see it. So by the time I'm looking at it, it's already up there. It's done. It's published. It's gone. And I watched it and I heard the audio that he recorded and I said, Jason, that's Ojibwe. What it said to you is Ojibwe. And so when we were up there last summer, up on the Red Lake Reservation, I asked him to play that audio recording for a couple of my friends who are first speakers. So meaning that they spoke Ojibwe first, so that's their first language. They listened to it together, and so he didn't record the video of them listening the first time, so he like tried to recreate it later. But what happened the first time they heard it, they just went, and they repeated to each other what they heard it say. And I said, well, what does it mean? I knew what the first part meant. Hoa means it's like a surprise. Hoa, you know. And then what they said it said was, get out of here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely feel that they are a people, you know, maybe they're not exactly like us, but I feel that they are people. They're very, very intelligent. They're smart enough to know that if they hurt one of us, people are going to come in there looking for them. You know, they're smart enough to know that. And I think if we respect them as they should be respected, we won't have a problem. But, you know, for the people who like to take shots at them or shoot them, I don't think that they're ever really alone. So, I mean, I think that accounts for the people who maybe go missing.
Right? Yeah.
Sure.
You might get a shot off, but you're probably not going to make it out of the woods alive,
right?
Or at all.
Right. So I think that's probably more likely what happens. I mean, are they all super friendly? You know, are we all super friendly? No, we're not. So, you know, chances are they're not all super friendly either. But I think that they're smart enough to know that they shouldn't mess with us. You know, we're dangerous people. We're dangerous. You know, because just of how humans are in general. So, how do you feel about that?
Well, you know, just you don't have to be a person to know that. I think most animals know that about humans as well.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, for sure. I think there's something to that. I think the nature of them. You know, once again, going back to the whole Bigfoot phenomena, but I think it's especially the ones that are on Randy's property. I don't think they're there all the time. You know, like I think they do show caution around us, but at the same time, I think they're not as intimidated by us just by the simple fact that they're not here. You know, like the example of that one that you saw that was surprise. I mean, you scared it. It didn't expect you to be there. You know, that's kind of what I took from that.
I don't think he expected me to see him.
Right.
He was watching us, but he didn't expect me to see him. And I just beelined, my eyes went right to him, just like when somebody's staring at you and you feel it, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Are you? Is it Mike Patterson? I believe that's who it is. Sasquatch, Ontario. I'm getting his name right. I find his stuff kind of interesting as well, like the audio that he has. Just kind of like the element that there seems to be something just present, like something invisible next to him. Lots of things about dropping marbles. He's had stuff that are, you know, just footprints that just show up out of nowhere. It's just been some interesting stuff that I've seen coming out of that area.
There was some pictures that he put out that I wasn't really a fan of, and I just think it's really important that when you're having real activity, don't try to embellish it. You know, that's kind of the motto here. You know, just let it be what it is, and you know, people either believe in it or they don't. So that's kind of how I feel about that.
Unfortunately. But
what would you? I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, for some reason the phone cut out at that moment there, but I got the gist of what you said there. Yeah, I'm familiar with the pictures and whatnot. You know, trying to think what's his name, the other guy that's up in British Columbia that's provided photos that are very controversial.
Oh yeah.
Todd Sanning.
And again, I haven't met either of these gentlemen. So, I mean, my opinion is just as good as anyone else who's watched it. So I think everyone is smart enough and intelligent enough to watch things and go, is this real or not? And they can decide for themselves, really,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Right? They don't need me to tell them.
Yeah, for sure. Even listening to people's stories, sometimes you'll hear things that are just like, wow, that doesn't make any sense to me. That's way too far out there. And you just got to remember that that's their truth, and that's what they saw. That's what they believe. That's their perspective. It's not necessarily what it was, but that's their perspective. And you just got to respect that. I think is the way I go with it. So
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
And and the thing is, I think it's important to know that every sound in the forest isn't Bigfoot.
Sometimes this is chipmunk.
A chipmunk or a raccoon, right, Tommy?
Right?
Oh boy, right out this window, I got about 3 or 4 raccoons that come around here every 3 or 4 days.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, sometimes it's you have to rule out what the actual regular nature animals are out there that could be making those prints or those sounds or those leaving traces behind, and what else could it be? The first thing I look at when I see footprints that kind of look like Bigfoot footprints is it a bear?
Mhm.
Is it a bear?
A double step, as they call it? Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Yep. But the chances of a bear stepping double step on a trackway the whole way,
Right.
Right.
that's just probably not going to happen. So I like trackways. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you got to look at all the information. Look at all the information together. Sometimes pieces of it don't make sense. They're just coincidences in nature. But if you start putting things together, sometimes they work out to be better. Like the stick structures, for example. Seeing an X out in the woods by itself, not really that big of a deal. You see an X, you find some tracks, maybe some fur, or some hair. Ear sound. Maybe you can kind of tie those together or something else that's going on there. But yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, by itself, I have a hard time with tree bends and X's taking that seriously anymore. I mean, when we first started, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting. But now it's like, is it though? It just has become so commonplace that you're seeing it everywhere that you really have to investigate how it's in the ground and how it's interwoven between the trees, and did it just fall there? And you have to really take a good look at it and not just assume that because it's an X, oh my gosh, Bigfoot did it. I'm very skeptical of those X's.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know if you have a lot of friends that are skeptics. I have a few. I love to look at this information and throw it at them. Sometimes they'll hurt my feelings, but at the end of the day, they make me a better person for looking at it from their perspective.
Right. Yeah. For fun. So you take people out in the forest sometimes to have new experiences, right? So is that something you do on a regular basis? People want to do that?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we have the Itasca County Bigfoot Research Center. If you're interested in us, you can come join us on Facebook. We sometimes have events. We've had a couple night hikes. We actually had our first what we call the Minnesota Bigfoot Researchers Forum. It was about a month ago. We made patches for it. So you can see it well. Made these little patches. Here we got a little red eyes in the background in the campground there.
There you go. Yeah.
So we met up at Cottonwood Campground. That's one of the areas I pointed out in our book there, and we classes in the morning.
I know.
Can't hear you.
Audio.
Oh,
there you are. Yeah, go back a little bit.
Just kind of go back and forth. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, we had this event up at the campground. We did a casting class. We had a tracking class. We went out in the woods for a day hike and saw some teepee structures, and then we went out deeper into the woods, and we did like a night hikes, more of a listening post, and see if we could get anything to show up. we heard a couple knocks, and while I was gone, they reported hearing something that sounded like a pterodactyl. So whatever that came out to be, but yeah. But anyways, we're doing this. There's about I think we had over the weekend we had about 20-25 people come out in total. We're just having fun. A bunch of people that get together and we go spooky camping, or just have an evening of night hikes. So if you're up in the Grand Rapids area, up on the Iron Range, please do look us up on Facebook. Join our group and come be part of the fun.
Awesome.
That sounds like a great time. Any other way that people can reach you?
No, Facebook is the best way to do it.
Facebook. That's it.
Yep.
You have a YouTube channel?
I don't.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So Facebook it is. Itasca County.
Yeah. Itasca County Bigfoot Research Center. Yeah.
Okay.
It's yep. That's truly where the passion is being part of that community and being part of all those other researchers that are just kind of networking and doing what we're doing.
That's awesome. I love it.
Thank you.
And we wanted to come out and see all you guys. Gosh, there's only so much that we could do in a little bit of time. Right?
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, I think it would be fun. Jenna and I were trying to go out to Randy soon, but he's busy. So
Okay.
yeah, we were hoping to get out there like this week or next week, but
I think we might be going to St. Croix State Park for this event next summer. So that's a beautiful park. I think it's the biggest in Minnesota. I think they've said.
Where is that?
It's you go up 35 through Minneapolis. It's about, I suppose, 40-50 miles before you get to Duluth.
Okay.
Yeah, there's the St. Croix River that runs through it, so you can kayak, you can bike through there. There's a big fire tower you can climb up and see for miles out of, and then just trails everywhere around there. It's when we went out there and camped earlier this year, and we saw a cinnamon colored bear on one of the roads, and then when we went kayaking, we actually got to see a baby bear climbing up a tree. So no Bigfoot activity that weekend, but and there was an area we went out to at night. We walked out along the bike path, went out to this field, and had thousands of fireflies. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Nice.
Quite the sight. But yeah, anyways, it's a beautiful park.
That sounds wonderful. There's just not enough time.
Nope. And we're out of time again.
We want to thank
Well,
Zach
thank you.
Malmquist. Thanks, Zach Malmquist, for coming on to the show tonight. And of course, you're welcome to come back on again if you have any more to share another time. I love getting together with other Minnesota researchers. I'm in Minnesota, so that's home for me. So yeah, it's good to hear whatever. And I would like to hear more about off the air about the Dogman sightings you're talking about. So, but yeah, absolutely. We need to go looking for Dogman. Good night,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody. Good night.
Good night.